Welcome to Taking the Rams by the Horns, a podcast that takes current affairs out of current affairs. This is an award-winning podcast in partnership with Sowetan Live. I'm your host, Rems Mabote. Thank you for choosing to watch or listen to this podcast. At the risk of sounding pedantic, please subscribe and engage. While I appreciate your patronage, platforms like this one succeed when we get more of you to subscribe and engage. It kills me every time I look at the algorithms and see how many times people watch an episode, but so few subscribe. Please look at the bottom right of your screen. There is a little icon written SUBSCRIB. Subscribe. Click on it and Bob is your uncle. Thank you in advance. Now then, it is tried to mention that one of the fastest growing phenomena in the world is the concept of podcasts. There are more podcasts in Johannesburg today than there are Mamelodi Sundowns fans across the country. They come in all shapes and forms. Some do politics, others are about sex, a lot focus on sport, and many more on lifestyle and health. And then there are those that insult women, while others say controversial things about colored people. And then there is the Conversation Capital, hosted by one Ursula Mariani. It is currently one of my favorite podcasts. Ursula Mariani is a PhD candidate specializing in cardiovascular physiology and a published researcher. I don't know what that means, by the way. She spent nearly 8 years as a lecturer at Wits Medical School, where she honed her expertise in communication, teaching, and translating complex information into accessible knowledge. We're going to try and do that today. Beyond academia, Ursula is a seasoned media professional, having grown social media pages to 150,000 followers because people subscribe. And so, my dear friends, Ursula Mariani is in my studio.
Second name.
I could not wait to say that and see your reaction.
No, that one caught me off guard. That caught me off guard. I don't know who told you that.
I've got sources. I
can
do
tell.
research.
Like a real
I take
broadcaster.
This. This is real work. This. I may not get paid for it, but it's proper work. Ish. Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm dark and lovely. Thank you for asking. How are you?
I am awesome.
Look, and a disclaimer, right? Mm-hmm. That intro was taken from your own platform, so it's not me exaggerating things about you. I just want to put it on the record. Even though, by the way, the mention of you coming here caused commotion in this studio.
Oh, is
Everybody wanted to do the shoot, the sound.
Don't
Where's your
lie.
makeup? I told her she brings her own makeup. You don't have to do makeup.
I know everyone in the studio, so don't do that to me. These are my boys.
So I'm going to tell you a story before we get into our conversation. So I see the first time I see one of your podcasts, then I see the name, right? Then I make my conclusion, because everybody else does, right?
Yeah.
I read your name,
Yeah.
and then one day she speaks this word, like, what's a lie?
It was suit. I'm not.
Like what kind, right?
It's a little voiceover as a thing.
Exactly. I got to find out that. So who is Ursula? Where do you come from?
So tricky. Not really. It's explainable. But when I was younger, the identity crisis that came from it. So I'll share the whole story.
Yeah.
My dad is half Malawian, half Italian.
Oh.
His father is Italian and his mother is Malawian. But my dad is typically, everybody when I post him, he looks very white. They call him Lehoa. And it's interesting when I'm in a mall and I see a white man with like farmer shorts.
Yeah.
I see my dad, which is weird, right? But my dad, because he grew up in the villages of Malawi, he's like a black man.
Yeah.
Like if
Yeah.
you know him, you
Yeah.
know that he's a black man, you know? And so that contrast on its own is so crazy.
Yeah, Mariani is
Yeah,
Italian,
yeah, it's
right?
an Italian
I
surname.
never went that direction at all.
Is
Like,
it?
yeah,
No,
never.
it's an Italian surname.
Yes.
And then my mom is Zulu.
Okay.
But my mom is a Zulu young girl who was, part of the group that was displaced to a Sotho area.
Yeah.
In fact, her great-grandparents my great-grandparents were displaced to a Sotho area. And so as a result, they speak Sotho, but Abo Mazulu. So they speak Zulu. They speak Sotho And I grew up obviously in South Africa, born and bred in South Africa.
We're in South Africa. We are in South Africa right now.
Okay. I was born in the East Rand.
Shame,
And then
I'm sorry.
spent, I know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm also like, yeah, see, when I drive through, I'm like, yeah, see, sorry, little Ursh. I'm sorry you have to claim this place. Joking, all the East Rand people were joking.
I'm not.
And then we moved to Cape Town. And so I grew up a little bit in Cape Town. Crazy, you know, I always say, up to today, if somebody says, surprise, we're going on holiday to Cape Town, we're always like, ew. Because I experienced so much racism as a child in Cape Town that I actually don't like Cape Town at all. If I'm there,
You know, if you
I'm there
spoke
for
to
work.
black South Africans, they think racism in Cape Town was manufactured 20 years ago. It's not something that you would have experienced when you were a kid.
Yeah, no, it's bad. It's bad. And so I don't know about now, but like I said, I just always have those memories, and I don't like Cape Town. But grew up a little bit in Cape Town, and then we eventually settled in a place called the Val, Vereniging. So I'm a Val girl.
It goes down further and further.
Further and further, and they speak even more Sotho.
Lesotho.
you
Yeah, I
know,
mean, that's
so it's-
Lesotho. I mean, that part is on the border.
Yeah,
Okay,
you know, we're heading towards Lesotho.
These guys were coming into Johannesburg from Lesotho, and the first lights they saw were in the Val. They stopped
they
right
said,
there.
Actually,
This is it.
let's
Gauteng,
just
mona,
settle it.
refihlile.
Gauteng, mona, refihlile. So yeah, absolutely a very Sotho area. So that makes me speak even more Sotho. And yeah, I just grew up around there. I speak Sotho very fluently. I think in Sotho. I dream in Sotho. But I don't have any Sotho blood.
Would not have guessed.
Yeah, and because the Val has this nickname, Matadiana,
Yes,
Italians.
yes.
I'm like, this is
Like, right.
like yes, I can claim it fully.
And now, speaking of your dad and his lineage, right, and mixture, you know, he does not have to work hard to, you know, people who just say African American and this. If he said Malawian, it's like Malawian Italian, right? In one way.
Yeah, it is. I never thought of that. Wow. Okay, yeah, he can.
Right.
Yeah, but he
Okay,
always,
now I get it.
yeah.
But, you know, so your intro then speaks about something cardiovascular physiology. Like, I'm thinking,
Where did you get
what
this
the
intro?
hell is that? I mean, like,
did you give
we
me a chance to
gotta
introduce
have to
myself?
explain that to people because I read that out. I did not even know what I was reading
Hey. And where was I when you were reading? Because then at least I would know what was in
because
there.
I didn't want you to feel uncomfortable about yourself.
Okay, so that's just what I study. So I'm doing a PhD.
Yeah. But what's that in English? I mean, like, what's cardiovascular
So
physiology?
cardio is the
Okay,
heart.
I can think of cardio. Yeah.
Vascular is the vessels.
Okay.
So all veins and arteries.
Okay.
So heart and vessels.
Yeah.
Physiology is how the body works. So specifically looking at how does the heart and vessels work.
And
Plain
it ends up in
Plain
in the
English.
conversation capital. I mean, like, how do we put the two together? Like,
You
I
know-
battled with that, and now we end up with the conversation capital.
Sure. Okay. So starts off with me being a student who's trying to make extra money.
Okay.
So always been in the sciences. And then the girls around me are skinny. And they can be promo girls. So they go to Pick and Pay and they're like advertising noodles. And every time I try to get into this, the lady who's hiring looks at me and says, no,
Yeah,
there's
pretty
no
bad.
space for you. So then I didn't know that there was that spec. Then one day my one friend said to me, I need to be honest with you. She once told us she doesn't hire anybody from size 34 upwards. And I'm like, I'm a comfortable 36.
Okay.
So then I'm like, oh, okay. And then it finally lands why I'm not getting these extra gigs that all the girls around me are getting. And I think to myself, okay, I need to make money.
Yeah.
And what do I know how to do? I know how to talk.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine had been a voiceover artist for a very long. A friend of mine's older sister had been a voiceover artist for a very long time, and she says to me, "You've got such a lovely voice," and it had
You
stuck
believe
with
them?
me. No, it had stuck with
Okay.
me. I never did
I'm
anything
just
about
asking.
it, and until this moment, I remembered this thing that God, I've got a lovely
Yeah.
voice. Surely, man,
Yeah.
there's something I can do with this. So I immediately go to Tax FM. And then from there, the story is history.
Oh,
I get
man.
hired at Tax FM, and through that, then I start getting voiceovers and
Yeah.
this and that.
Yeah.
And then, like, I'm building, really not knowing. I think I'm like maybe 19 or 20, not knowing that I'm building a second career alongside the health sciences. I just thought I was just trying to make a quick buck. And then now my friends that are earning 800 Rand a weekend, I'm earning like 3,000 Rand from 15 minutes
Right?
of a voiceover. I'm like,
Jeez.
oh, okay. So I immediately am so grateful that I'm rejected for it. But truly, if somebody said to me, because like I don't know how many voiceovers I have under my belt now, possibly over 1,000.
Yeah.
But if somebody had said to me that, Ursula, you're building another career, I would have said, no, I'm just trying to make an extra buck.
Right.
And
Just for a drink
yes,
at the weekend.
and for a drink on the weekend. That's all I'm trying to do. You're a student, you're trying to survive.
Yeah.
And so, no, it turned out to be such a blessing. It really evolved from one radio station to the next, from one voiceover to the next, from one MC and speaking gig to the next. And then now I look and people are like, media personality. I'm like, media? Me?
I'm just a voice.
I'm just like, okay. And then I really had to start embracing it. And I remember a friend of mine, Given, who's my partner now at the Conversation Capital, because I used to do this thing where I'd run discussions on my WhatsApp.
Yeah.
And Given then says to me, this is a real thing. Like, people wait. I used to call it Discussion Tuesdays,
Yeah.
Discussion Room on Tuesdays.
Okay.
And so I would start a topic and then people would send in voice notes. It had rules, no voice notes over 1 minute, and you could write a paragraph and I'd take screenshots and I'd share it on my status. And people would respond to other people and it would be like,
Wow.
it actually took so much effort. It would be the whole Tuesday evening, 12 o'clock we close. So we start at 6 and then it would just go on and on. And Given said to me, why are you not seeing that you're sitting on
But
gold?
I want to go back before we even. go
Okay.
to- but how do you then decide I want to do this? What was the motivation to start this
Okay,
WhatsApp?
WhatsApp conversation thing.
Yeah.
I think it started with me randomly starting conversations,
Yeah.
right? And so I'd be like, guys, you know, the other day I was there, and genuinely not thinking I'm doing a thing. It's just me. Like, even now, I'll start a conversation on my Instagram story, and I don't really think that now I think maybe I'm a bit more intentional about it. But initially, it was just like, guys, I was in the mall, and this guy said this to me, and is it me or that's racist? And then the conversation starts about what racism really is and the dynamics of
Yeah.
racism and not knowing that, you know, you're doing something because you enjoy doing it, but perhaps that's like, now I'm seeing how perhaps that should be what directs you, you know, things that come naturally to you. I think that's a part that was missing in my teaching of what I should pursue, of like things that naturally, and also back then, who would have said, perhaps you can start conversations. Who would have said that to me when talking about career options in high school? Because I remember I was like, my mom and my parents were both very intentional about presenting all options. I remember my mom taking me to a psychometric psychologist.
Yeah, those things.
to do the
right.
tests
To
and to
find
give-
out your type of thinking,
Your type of thinking.
your orientation.
Yeah, and I've always been a very strong sciencey mathematics girl. So I remember the test results came back, and first on the list was chartered accountant, medical doctor, fashion designer. It was so jumbled up that I remember the psychologist said, I think she's young and she maybe should come back in a few years. Retrospectively, those test results were right. I'm so multifaceted that there was no way to box, you know. But it did so much damage to like a young girl. I just kept feeling like I'm so confused and I don't know what to do with my life. And I felt so caged, you know.
Wow.
And so now, retrospectively, I like telling the story because I want to speak to like a young girl who's in that position. And I think also in the era that we're living in, we're fed with so much knowledge at such a rapid pace. It's difficult to be one thing, you know.
We shouldn't be one thing, actually. I
We
don't
shouldn't-
believe so.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Whereas, you know, 60 years ago, your father was a doctor. You're constantly surrounded by medical terms and medical knowledge. You
All his friends
usually-
are medics.
Yes,
you know,
and that's
exactly.
usually how, you know, the family keeps this thing of like a family of lawyers, a family of doctors.
If you're smart enough, you just use your father's
You just-
certificate.
yes.
And, like, you know, change names. And,
We heard of these stories, you know. And so, but now that's not the case, you know. You're not just exposed to what's in your family. You're exposed to so much more than that. And you learn so much so quickly. You know, you find yourself giving social commentary and people are like, hey, man, you do everything. And it's like, no, we all do everything.
We are everything.
We are everything.
Yeah.
You know, everything lives and breathes in us. And sometimes it's just exposure that picks one thing up from you. And so, yeah, so long story short, I was just chatting. I was really just chatting. I always found myself in those kind of conversations.
go back to Given. Then.
Yeah.
Then Given sees this
Yeah.
and he says,
And even if I look back at the conversations that I used to have with my friends in varsity, we're way beyond our age. And you know, in high school, because I went to a boarding school,
yeah.
and when I remember when other kids would
You've had
be
actually a
out-
very rough childhood. no?
Really?
Boarding school, the Val, the Eastern, Cape Town. Like,
and
jeez.
if I tell you, the boarding school was in Heidelberg, so very rough.
Oh,
Oh, my
man.
gosh. And so I remember like kids would go outside and play. We had this thing called laps, and me and my friends would be chilling in the room and really just having these discussions. We used to call it theories, which is crazy. Guys, have you thought of, and like I'm thinking, I look back at like 14-year-old Ursula and I'm like, what was happening, and why didn't you see all along that that was your gift,
Wow.
But I didn't see it. I really didn't see
I
it.
always blame those around us.
Yeah.
Our teachers, our parents, because they're the ones who are supposed to say, actually,
Yes, this is.
you are this person.
Yes,
I
yeah.
always tell people, I don't fail to tell people
Yeah.
that I thank my mathematics teacher who said to me, do not go into the sciences. And I was an A student in mathematics. She said, your personality is not meant for the lab.
Sure.
I'm always grateful to you.
No one ever said that to me.
Well,
all
because
the
we all had to
adults-
be doctors
yeah.
and,
All the
and
adults-
lawyers
yeah.
and you know, all
All
those
the
things.
adults around me. I remember the one time saying, I think I said I wanted to be an actress, or I can't remember, but it was something artistic. And then my teacher said to me, you're way too smart for that. That was the worst thing she could have said to me, because I carried
I hope
that.
my daughter doesn't listen to this.
Yeah, no,
Baby, being an actress is a great thing. Stay,
Yes,
stay, there, stay on
absolutely.
that lane.
And, I carried that with such a burden, because then now, I was watching people do what I thought was like so amazing and so cool. Like, I'm still a theater junkie now.
Yep.
We're just around the corner from Market Theater. They know me so well because I'm there every other Friday. And like, she really stole something from me. I always think back to that teacher. I'm like, that was the worst advice you could have given a kid, because she made me like group it as this thing that's not for smart people. And
You must send that teacher a beautiful song by Fela Kuti.
yes.
Teacher, don't teach me nonsense.
Yes. Yes, that's the song I need to send her. I don't even know if she's still alive, but I look back at those things, and she's just one example of so many. Because you're in top 5, top 10, they're just like, no, you have to go into the sciences, and not that I regret it. I mean, it's not like I didn't perform. I'm doing my PhD, but now retrospectively, I'm like, it just wasn't good advice. Generally, you didn't really lay all the true cards on the table of what was available to me, and really looked at my personality, like.
So what's primary? Are you a PhD candidate or a podcaster?
Very tricky still. Like I said, I'm building these things alongside. During the week, I'm a PhD candidate. Yeah, I'm a PhD candidate.
Yeah.
I'm in the lab,
Yeah.
Make no mistake.
I spot any grey hair there.
Yeah,
working hard.
yeah, I'm working really hard. And then over the weekend, I'm podcasting. Over the weekend, I'm curating conversations, and
Does this look familiar?
it does.
I had to
Is
do
that the prop that
I couldn't
you
help
had?
myself. Couldn't help myself.
I should have come with my makeup kit.
I'm shocked.
I really
Where's your ring light? I'm like, I'm really like,
So funny. So funny. Is he roasting me on his channel? Did I come to an unsafe space? I feel so roasted.
sorry about that. I had to look good for.
Okay, so how that comes about, because everybody's like, why are you doing your makeup on screen? Because it's my screen. And one of the things was that we would, while I was getting ready for the guests on shooting, because we all work in the team.
Yeah.
So it's a team of 3.
The faceless people
Yes,
also
the
work,
faceless
right?
people. Yes, they do work.
Hello,
So we've
guys.
got- hi, guys. So we've got Bonga Bueta, who is in HR, and then Given,
Yeah.
who's our tech guy, and he also comes on to screen often. And so he also, I don't want to say the company that he works at, but yeah, he works.
Yeah.
And so as a result, we shoot on the weekends. And it's been crazy. Like, in the beginning, it's funny. It's like, ha, ha, ha. And then, like, we really start, like, realizing that we're dedicating our... And you start missing weddings and birthdays and stuff. But, it's still something we enjoy doing. But, yeah, so we do that on weekends. And so while we were getting ready, every time for a guest, and I'd be putting on makeup and we'd be chatting, Given would say, man, these conversations should be on camera. Man, these conversations should be on camera. And that's how
Oh, I
the
see.
Get Ready With Me segment came about. And the
what is
crazy thing about it is that, so it's just one of, let's say we shoot 5 episodes. It's just one of 5 episodes,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So it technically makes up 20% of the whole podcast. The rest of them are interviews. But people were enjoying so much the candidness of them that they're the ones that go viral.
Yeah.
They're the
Of
ones.
course,
Yeah, they're the
of
ones
course.
that.
That's why I did what I did.
And so
because-
everybody thinks she's a makeup girl. And I actually hardly wear makeup. And I just became my label, and I was just like, okay, I'll take it because I love makeup.
Amazing,
It's
right.
beautiful. And so, yeah, so it was just really interesting. But it always reminds me that the podcasting industry is really a place for candidness. And so often people will send me their material, hey, Ursula, please watch this and give me pointers. And the moment I see them trying to be, Leanne Manners or rams?
Me?
I'm like,
Cut.
I always think to myself, no, stop.
Well, then that leads me to, I'm amazed how you managed to go to where I was going to go, right? Because I was going to say, how would you describe the conversation capital? What is your content? What is the nature? What is the image of your content?
Okay.
Right?
I
Because
love this question.
Yeah,
And
because
it
you're not
can't be
Leanne
answered.
Manas, you're not
It has
Rams,
to be.
you know?
It has to be answered in a conversation
Yeah.
to show that it's the So the conversation capital is. I always say, imagine you are sitting under a tree with your friends, and it's tax season, and one of your friends does tax,
Yeah.
and you guys start talking about that, and you're like, actually, I don't know this sort of thing, and how does it work? And then another friend walks over, and you're like, "Ooh, that foundation is so nice. What foundation is that?" And they say, "No, I use Estee Lauder Double Wear." Like, "Oh, it's so pretty. In fact, it's actually on sale right now at whatever have you." And then another friend says, "Guys, I'm actually not feeling too well. My grandmother passed away." And we start talking about the 5 stages of grief. That's what my podcast is. It's sitting under a tree with your friends. And so we go through different seasons. The topics come from the 3 of us living life. The 2, Given and Bonga, are both parents of same age. One of the babies was born in our first year of the podcast. One of our babies was born in November. Asa was born in... No, it's Asa who's born in November, and I was born in August. So our babies are 2 months apart within the team. And so we go through the different stages of parenting as they experience them. So in the group, Given will say, "Bonga, have you experienced, they're now picky with clothing?" Then in the next Get Ready With Me, we discuss how, what is it like to now be raising a 3-year-old. We discuss the dynamic of Bonga being a mom and Given being a dad, and what does that mean in society? What are the privileges that are extended to Bonga that are not extended to Given? And then the next time we're discussing, workplace toxicity, because maybe one of us could be going through a toxic environment, and that's just how it. And then now it's
And that men are not interested in sex all the time.
And those are really the
Real
conversations
stuff, right?
that
Yeah.
come out.
I don't know which men are those, but yeah.
Those are real conversations that come out. I mean, we had a sexologist. You're speaking to the sexologist, and Given was the one who had a conversation with the sexologist and said, "I need you to come onto our podcast."
You bring amazing guests into your podcast.
No, and
I promise you.
it's our community.
It's like, but my suspicion, right? And I'm not going to allow you to be modest here. I think a lot of times we attract people who want to be in our spaces. So they would have seen what you do. Okay. So when you ask for them to come through, it's like, actually, it would be nice to be there. It's not difficult to get them on because they would have seen your work. And they think it resonates.
But everything starts somewhere. Don't
course.
despise small beginnings.
Of course.
Because if I think about our first few episodes, in fact, I can easily say for the first year, it was just our friends. It was just one of Bonga's friends is a lawyer. Hey, Tom, come talk about this new law.
Yeah.
But
they've got credentials. They're a lawyer.
Yes,
they're not just coming just because they're friends.
Yeah, shame, true.
Right?
Clearly, we've got a good group of people around
Yeah.
us. But I remember for the first year, it was just one of the first conversations. I think it was the second podcast we've had. So the first podcast we had was a lawyer who came to talk about the new Fat and Set rule had come in, where the woman had won the case that, she proved that this deceased man had been taking care of her, and the family tried to keep her out of. And she was like, "No ways, guys. We were not legally married, but I was beside this man till the end." And the court ruled in her favor.
Rightfully so.
Yes, and what does it mean then? So a lawyer came to come debunk that. And then I knew a friend of mine who had been fat and setting in China with her boyfriend, and she had just moved back. And I said, "Actually, your stories are so funny. Come and talk to us." And that's the first one that really, people really like caught on in the head because she's a great storyteller.
Yes.
And honestly, I'm surrounded by amazing storytellers. In fact, if you can't tell a story, our friendship is not going to go very far, And so then that one does really well. And so that's just where it started. It started with like just the community of people around us. And the following time we recorded, it was another very close friend of mine and a very close friend of Given's. And then before you know it, our emails are flooded with people saying, "This is my story. This is why I want to come on." And, we've been through many learning curves with regards to just because some people are very good at writing stories, but not narrating them.
Yeah.
And so at first we would jump on, we'd see a really cool story in our emails, they come through, and the person
Then they
comes
have to
on
say
and they
it.
speak like
And
a
then-
log.
Yeah.
And I'm
But
like,
also
damn.
there's a camera in front of them. That
Yes,
changes,
it
a lot of
the
things.
dynamic. Absolutely. And so that's why I always encourage my guests to come in for the whole day.
Yeah.
I'm like, just chill with us. So that when the cameras go on, they're not anxious. So my thing is we shoot the whole day. All the guests come through, have some food, have a drink. We're chatting,
I
even
could
while
never
setting up.
afford that. The people I invite, they take themselves too seriously. Like, I've got only 30 minutes.
Yes,
Yeah,
true.
so-
I've got another podcast called the Research Bay Podcast, and it was now academics.
Yeah.
So me trying to merge my two worlds somehow, because I was sitting at an
But they
academic.
can't speak English academics. They
No,
speak
excuse me. So that's just why I started the podcast. So I was sitting one day at an academic conference, and I'm looking at the amazing work that's been done in medical research. And I'm saying, what a pity that when we say we've promoted our work as an academic, we've put it in an academic journal, and you need to go to Google Scholar. Half the population doesn't know about Google Scholar.
In the conference, it's a PowerPoint in words.
Yes.
That's always the
You know,
1,000 words
and
per
I said,
slide.
Because I have a gift of like interpreting complex information to simple information. That's why I'm a teacher. So I was like, no, I'm putting this gift to use because so much amazing research is really just ending up in the world of researchers. And so I started another podcast. But to go back to having important guests, now I've got professors and serious people
In suede jackets.
who can only give me 30 minutes of their time. So I know what that's like. But TCC is not like that.
Yeah.
The vibe is completely different. Yeah. And
I
like
love
said-
TCC. I'll tell you
thank
why I love TCC, right? So I'm tired of everybody trying to educate me about the serious stuff. Get to know this is how parliament works. And,
Yes, yeah.
Those things are very important.
Yeah.
But I think there are issues we're not talking about in a light-hearted way, in a way that I'll understand them. I'll appreciate a view that I never thought about from somebody else. I may not agree with it.
Yeah.
And I find those conversations so enriching. Like,
no,
okay,
absolutely.
I never
And-
thought about this. And it comes to me so easily. I mean, I'm doing something. I've got my
Yeah.
pods in here and I'm listening to you guys. I don't watch much because every time I watch you putting on makeup. But
Every time. I just said 20% of the time. He's here to troll me, and I'm not going to have it. But, I like what you're saying because it's just that, right? People are listening to you and they're listening to things that, because what I say is interesting is that we're all fronting intelligence, and that's why I seldom talk about the cardiovascular element and whatever, because I'm not trying to pretend to be intelligent or smart, and we have enough of that in the world.
you are.
No, we have enough of that in the world. For me, it's like the truth is the conversations that we're having on the Conversation Gap are what plague 90% of your mind all the time in your real life. So you can be in some, I don't know, maybe you like sit as a journalist in in the parliament and you do some fancy job, but at the back of your mind, you're thinking to yourself, oh man.
Ziwapi this weekend.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, we don't talk about Ziwapi, but perhaps you're thinking to yourself, you're thinking about an argument you had with your wife and you're wondering, how can I meet the balance? Or you're thinking about how you don't get an opportunity to parent as much as she does because society is so much more lenient when she says, I need to pick up my kids. And you can't really say that at work, and that's actually what you're thinking about. But when cameras go on, you have to discuss, all things fancy.
Must change the world.
Exactly, and so you're right. I like what you're saying because this is the fact of the matter. I mean, and not to take away from the great work that's being done in the systems that keep our system running. I mean, the most recent episode we had on the Conversation Capital was us at the Gauteng Provincial Legislature. And it was just that. I was like, I want people to know what the legislature is, and in a real way. Don't hong it out. I want you to genuinely explain to me the people that it affects.
Because it's hidden.
Yes.
Firstly, by the word itself, legislature. That word hides
Rams,
so much behind it.
What
what
we're
is
going to get
legislature?
into this discussion because I absolutely love it. Recently, Anela Mdota, it won't be recent when this airs, but recently Anela Mdota and Helen Zille are having a scuffle.
Oh, man.
All right. And one of the biggest comments is, Anela didn't have, the right wording and she didn't know, I think it was one of the corruption scandals.
Yeah.
And I was like, I never comment actually on these things, but I was so maddened by the conversation because there's this way that people want to keep 90% of the community and people out of the conversation, those that don't know the jargon.
Yeah.
And so they intimidate us by saying, "Oh, what do you know?
Yeah.
Name the corruption scandal you're talking about." And now you want us to quote dates as if you're some kind of journalist. I'm not, but I'm a voter.
Yes.
And I want to know.
But also, by the way, it has to be said, right?
Yeah.
Helen came to Anelem Doda's show.
Yeah.
This is not a political show. She
Yes,
can't be expecting her to be speaking like Clement Manyatel.
Yes.
Or
And
Mani-
Anela speaking in the way that her
You
audience
chose
understands.
to come there.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
please, I mean, I defend her
Absolutely.
to the death.
Absolutely. You know, and like it just reminded me of how many people are shut out of the conversation, even to the point where somebody goes to a doctor and is fearful to ask questions, right? You're the expert, right? So I can't go to a doctor and say, explain why I've got a flu. What happened? How did I get a flu? And he says, oh, no, you don't know enough. I don't know enough. Like, I'm here. I'm paying for
I'm
this.
paying you, mate.
Yes, I'm paying for this. You better be able to explain. Albert Einstein says, if you can't explain it simply, you don't know it well enough.
Yeah.
And that was the opportunity for you to explain simply to the people that are supposed to vote for you what's happening.
She spoke to Anel instead of speaking to the listeners.
And
That's where she made a mistake.
for me, I actually don't want to just focus on that one conversation. For me, it's really just generally when you ask questions and people try to intimidate you into feeling too daft to ask the question, the problem is that person, right? Because surely you can explain to somebody who's not a politician, you know, because Anela's asking on behalf of, we're using the word Anela, but I'm asking on behalf of a population of people that aren't politicians. Some of them are teachers, and they're not consumed by this.
Young people, the majority of
Yes.
South Africans, young people are listening to that show. Right?
Yes, and at the end of the day, these are the people that you're calling on to vote for you. Speak to them, you know.
Did you think it would get to this? I mean, you did the first few interviews and you started seeing there's a bit of trajectory. This is getting exciting. I'm seeing responses, but did you think on this day, in October 2025, the TCC would be where it
No.
is?
Absolutely. I say no, but I wonder if I'm telling the truth when I say no.
You
Because
look,
I
you probably
remember-
wished for, but did you think it
no,
would get?
let me tell you. I think in my head, because I had started many things, right? And not started as officially as TCC, but I'd played around doing many fun things. I think I always saw it as a hobby more than what it's become now. Now it's a job. TCC is a job, you know. We're producing a product now. But I didn't see it
Do
that
something
way.
that you enjoy and you'll never work
A
again.
day in your life, yeah, you know. And so I remember the night that, so Given had kept saying that we got cut off with the story, like, Ursula, this is the thing. And then eventually he came to me. I was working at, for I Talk Youth. I had a show called I Talk Youth with Ursula at Voice of Wits.
Okay.
It was a Wednesday night. It was an hour. And I remember saying, phew, I need this show. That part of me, that creative element that loves curating conversations, has a release, you know, and I hadn't had a show in a while. And he drove from Pretoria to come see me. And he was like, I want to sit in on this show because I want you to see what you have on your hands. I'm telling you, we're onto something. Let's start something. And for the first time in months, he managed to really convince me.
Wow.
But I'm the type of person that when I'm finally on board, so I start making calls. I'm like, guys, we're starting something big. We're starting something, but jokingly, you know. And I can easily say, I think within the first 3 or 4 months, our clips start, you know, really making the rounds on social media. And then, like, as the team, we look at each other, we're like, okay, we were joking, but we're actually onto something.
Wow.
Yeah. So would I say that I knew? No, but I jokingly kept saying we're onto something.
But you know,
big.
almost 50% of the men watch because of you. Like, we don't hear anything. We're just watching you. Okay, that's not
Do you
true.
feel the same way?
No, I listen to the I don't even watch. I told
You
you when
don't
I
even
watch, you're
watch.
busy doing stuff.
So is this
I
true?
listen.
Then
I
why
listen.
do you say that, Reps?
Well, you know.
Why do you say
it's a
it?
roast,
Do you say
isn't
it
it?
because it's a clickbaity and
Right?
people
People
will
like that
say,
part.
yes, they're
We're
gonna
gonna do
like
a
that
social
part.
media clip on that
Actually,
part,
let's just cut
especially.
this part out.
But you know,
This is an unsafe podcast. I thought this place was safe.
we're
Don't come
very
here.
serious here. We very like it's a very serious podcast.
Yes.
You know, we change the world. Here. Have you ever walked out of any conversation and feel like could have been better?
All the time.
Not about you, but the guest did not give you what you had hoped for.
All the time. All the time. All the time. Sometimes even me.
Well, I think we feel that about ourselves all the time. So I don't even want to go there.
Yeah,
Like,
true.
I mean,
Yeah.
write a book and I finish it and I think, this is not good enough.
This is not good enough, you know. But there are times where really it wasn't good enough. And recently, because I'm somebody who I hate canceling on a guest on the day, I understand that my guests will hire a makeup artist in the morning before they come to my show. They've gotten an outfit ready, and you know, and so I never cancel on the day. I haven't to date. But I recently had like a tooth infection that was the worst toothache I've ever had in my life, you know. I remember at some point I'm getting ready, I'm showering, and Bonga walks into the shower and she sees me like crouched on the floor. And she says, "Why are you doing this weekend cancel?" And I say, "I'm not canceling. Bring me 2 diclofenac and Panado there and let's keep it going, you know." And she's like, you know, she closes the door and I hear her say to Given, "Hey, she's still forcing, but she's crouched on the floor." I was in so much pain. And so we do all the guests. And now when we're watching it back, I see that I took it too far. I didn't perform at my best because I was in so much pain. And this principle kept me in a weird, you know, when a principle that you have for yourself almost shackles you more than liberates you. And I saw that I had done the wrong thing.
Yeah.
So a lot of the guests have said, "Please come back. I'm so sorry that I forced so much to do it on the day." But when I watch the interview, like I'm in excruciating pain. I'm like this, like I'm not like hearing Bonga's actually filling in more than she needs to.
Do you know how much respect you earned from those guests that you did this in that condition and then you said, "Can we do it again?" That you actually pushed yourself this hard.
No.
Because they would have said, "No, you should have cancelled." Of course, they would have said, "Bloody hell."
Yes,
right?
true. Yeah. If you cancel, people don't understand. I hate being cancelled on the day of something, you know. I'm like, no, cancel on me at least 48 hours before. I've got a life to live, you know. And if I'm coming to you, it means I'm not going to something else. And so I hate being cancelled. But yeah, that day I realized that sometimes you must also don't be shackled by your own decisions, right? But that day was the day where I looked at the interviews. We only aired one because one girl said, "No, I can't come again," and we aired it. But I look at it and I'm like, "Phew, I'm not performing at my best here."
Well done. Well done. But put yourself first.
And
Don't be shy about it.
other times I realize how we're different as an audience, where I'll receive a guest with like, "Oh my gosh, this is the greatest guest I've ever had." And my audience is like, "Meh." And I'm like, "Meh? Really?" You know, and just reminds me, the internet reminds me that people are so different.
Yeah.
We all, you know, and then there'll be other guests where for me it's meh. And my audience is going crazy. And I'm like, you know, and it's just such a reminder that you don't know it all.
We don't know it all, right? And people are looking for different things.
Yes,
You know, even
absolutely.
your audience are different people. They're
Absolutely.
looking for different things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's next?
For the conversation capital. Like I said, we've definitely started taking it more seriously. There was a time where I started taking it so seriously that I started getting nervous to do my own show. But we go through different
No, it's true.
phases.
You actually are laughing less in the latter episodes than you were when you began.
And my first
you were
few
laughing,
episodes, I used to hold wine. I used to be,
you were laughing. So you would start small. You're smiling when you start in intros and stuff. But once you start getting into to chat with your guests, now you're becoming this serious. I'm thinking, what happened to you?
No, I think I am still, like, I laugh
Have some
a lot.
wine, please.
Yeah, have some wine. I think I still do laugh a lot and whatever. But there was a time where, like, I really started taking myself way too seriously. And then I saw that I was losing the element of podcasting.
Yeah.
And it's just, you know, enjoying the conversation as much as you can and you would in real life, because people can tell when you're not in it. But now, outside of that element, we are taking it more seriously. In the sense that obviously, you know, like now brands approach you and you start thinking along those lines and you're like, okay, how can we structure this better? Like I said, at first it was a lot of like things that we're going through. But then what happens when I'm constantly going through a struggle at work? Now 3 conversations are about work. And so now we've started structuring to, you know, like, okay, a percentage needs to go to finance, another percentage needs to go to profiling people, another percentage needs to go to health, beauty, and wellness. And so we've started categorizing, so not to limit the conversations, but to ensure that there's a lot of diversification of the conversations. And so, yeah, it's just that element of like, you know, being a lot more structured in our approach in planning, but not the conversations.
Yeah.
The conversations need to be as free flow and comfortable as a conversation would be. But definitely, I think we're all taking it a lot more seriously. It's a business.
What's going to happen when that one afternoon, maybe evening, maybe even morning, somebody pats you on the head and you walk on the other side as Dr. Ursula Mariani?
It's coming.
What happens then? I mean, my fear is that then you then thinking, no, man, I should be doctor, not be doing this stuff, this stuff that has attracted all of us into your space.
Hear me now. That is never gonna happen.
Thank you.
The conversations are my joy. You know, I am addicted to my phone. Where's my phone, actually? I am addicted. My phone is always, always on me. When it's shoot day, even now I don't know where my phone is. I can't find my phone.
Good.
That's how much I get consumed by what I'm doing. And it's such an indicator to me that this is where my heart is. The only element is now merging of the tools, hence the other podcast. I haven't launched it yet, guys, but it's called Research Bay. Go subscribe in the meantime. And just trying to find a way to bring in that
word,
subscribe, even now. Why aren't you subscribing right now to Rams's podcast? Actually, guys. Nisile, guys, actually. And so, you know, just merging those two spaces. But I think my gift to the world will definitely be taking conversations and bringing it to the layman. And hence I was so offended by people being upset with Anele having layman conversations. I'm like, why do you guys always want us? Why do you always want to shut us out the conversation, you know? And so not just in the science space, not just in the business space, not just in entrepreneurship, finance, I'm here to say, let's have a relatable conversation that people can hear and understand. When we say tax season, what does it mean? And genuinely understand what it means. And genuinely understand why I need to pay SARS. And genuinely understand why you get a rebate and this and that, you know. And I don't want to front. I don't want to leave this earth having fronted conversations where it's like hong, 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 hong. And 90% of us didn't hear it. And 90% of us were excluded from
This
the
is not about
conversation.
Nadedi Pando, guys, just for the record.
I even forgot that comes from that. I say it so much. If you listen to my podcast, you know that I say it so much. But basically, it points towards like not being able to hear the conversation. You know, like that's the legacy I truly want to leave in this world, of somebody who genuinely said, Mr. CEO, talk to me like I'm a person. Talk to me like I'm my tutor from next door. Like, explain to me properly, you know?
I should have probably asked this much earlier, and I remember it just at the end. Was there ever, and I'm going to do a disclaimer before I ask the question, you black, you female, generally South African also, I'm sure there was a moment of...
Generally South African. My ID doesn't say generally South African.
I don't trust South African IDs, so it's fine.
So it's fine, actually. I said what I said, generally South African.
Everybody has it, whether they're here or not.
That is so funny. Yes.
Was there a moment of imposter syndrome? Like, I shouldn't be doing this. I'm not qualified to do this.
I have imposter syndrome all the time.
Even now?
Even now. But I'll tell you, if anybody's going to do it shaking, it's me. I will... Bonga laughs all the time at how I'm willing to do something trembling. I'm willing to ask a question. I'll give you an example. I have imposter syndrome even in way I'm like an expert, technically, on paper expert, right? So I'll be sitting in an academic conference and just have a burning question, right? But wondering if I've got the right academic jargon for the question. You know, and this is somebody who's doing their PhD, but I'm like, yo, do I have the right academic je ne sais quoi for this question? I pick up my hand and I ask the question shaking. And I'm somebody who, when I'm shaking, my voice trembles. So it's quite evident to everyone that she's not comfortable. And I've always been like that. I've always been the person who's like, I don't take away from the fact that I'm nervous. I don't take away from the fact that I feel like an imposter. But I'm not going to go into the grave with regrets of not doing stuff. That's a label that you'll never leave with me. Like, I ended up saying, hi, me, never. We're forging forward. And I laugh at myself sometimes afterwards at how I've taken a risk on stuff that I'm like, I actually really wasn't ready. It wasn't just imposter syndrome. I actually really wasn't ready. And then there are other times where I'm on the other side and I'm like, I'm so grateful I didn't let imposter syndrome get the best of me. So anybody who comes to me and says to me, oh, Ish, I'm nervous, I'm like, you better do it nervous. Like, I'm not giving you a chance. Any friend of mine who needs that kind of, they know I'm the person to call who's like, too, but you're moving forward. Because,
Well done.
yeah, who wants to go into the grave saying I didn't do it because I was scared? That's whack. I'm not a loser.
Nobody speaks in the grave. But anyway, I hope
But
nobody
yes,
speaks
but
in
imagine
the grave.
deathbed. Okay, let's say deathbed.
Yeah.
You're at your deathbed and you think of all these great opportunities that you let pass you by because you were scared. I'd rather walk onto stage with my knees clanking. It's okay. I walked.
You know what's
though.
going to happen on my deathbed?
Uh-huh.
I'm going to be so grateful. There's somebody I'm not going to be able to pay, and I'm going to die any moment now. And the loan is going to have to disappear. I'm broke.
Yo.
I owe some-
Guys, Rams is problematic. And then the banks are listening. Yeah, the banks are listening to you.
I want to thank you for 3 things, other than the fact that you honored me with your presence.
Yeah.
Right? I want you to, I want to thank you for listening to the other voices that said, do this.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you hadn't, we would have lost out on so much.
Thank you.
I want to thank you for the content, because I promise, I know how much I have enjoyed a lot of stuff that you talk about. Some of things I know, right?
Yeah.
Then I move on. Like,
Yeah.
I know about textbooks, I don't pay it very well. You know, but other conversation, I sit there and I think, wow, right? But lastly, I just want you to look at yourself in the mirror today and remember what you've just done. You have actually made it possible for people to not be one-dimensional, and it's so important.
Thank you.
People think I'm an accountant, and that's who I am. The only people who are multidimensional are politicians. They steal, they lie. All of us are one-dimensional, right? And I want to thank you for that.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for being my guest.
Sure. Thank you.
It's been wonderful having you here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Ursula Meredith Mariani, the podcaster, the host of The Conversation Capital. Amazing. Thank you so much. Remember, I'm going to say it again. Subscribe. Engage. It is very important for what we do. In fact, while at it, please subscribe to The Conversational. The Conversation Capital. It's very important. Even if you don't subscribe to Taking the Rams by the Horns, I'm so used to it by now. You guys don't subscribe, but this you must subscribe to.
No, subscribe, and also don't forget to talk about your
When
book.
all else fails, then that you can't press subscribe on your device, at least buy this book. It's a bloody good book. Trust me, it's written by me. It has to be good. The sweetest taboo. From me, Rams Mavote. Goodbye, and God bless.